Hello everyone, very good morning. So let's start reading. Many people might find the notion of an apprenticeship and skill acquisition as quaint relics of bygone eras when work meant making things. After all, we have entered the information and computer age in which technology makes it so we can do without the kinds of mental tasks that require practice and repetition. So many things have become virtual in our lives, making the craftsman model obsolete. Or so the argument goes. In truth, however, the era we have entered is not one in which technology will make everything easier, but rather a time of increased complexity that affects every field. In business, competition has become globalized and more intense. A business person must have a command of a much larger picture than in the past, which means more knowledge and skills. The future in science lies in the combining and cross fertilizing of knowledge in various fields. Exactly. In the arts, tastes and styles are changing at an accelerated rate. An artist must be on top of this and be capable of creating new forms, always remaining ahead of the curve. This often requires having more than just a specialized knowledge of that particular art from. It requires knowing other arts, even the sciences, and what is happening in the world. In all of these areas, the human brain is asked to do and handle more than ever before. We are dealing with several fields of knowledge constantly intersecting with our own, and all of this chaos is exponentially increased by the information available through technology. What this means is that all of us must possess different forms of knowledge and an array of skills in different fields, and have minds that are capable of organizing large amounts of information. The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways, and the process of learning skills, no matter how virtual, remains the same. In the future, the great division will be between those who have trained themselves to handle these complexities and those who are overwhelmed by them, those who can acquire skills and discipline their minds, and those who are irrevocably distracted by all the media around them and can never focus enough to learn. And the apprenticeship phase is more relevant and important than ever, and those who discount this notion will almost certainly be left behind. Strategies for completing the ideal apprenticeship. Do not think like what is hard for you to master is humanly impossible, and if it is humanly possible, consider it to be within your reach. Marcus Aurelius. Throughout history, masters in all fields have devised for themselves various strategies to help them pursue and complete an ideal apprenticeship. The following are 8 classic strategies distilled from the stories of their lives. Although some might seem more relevant than others to your circumstances, each of them relates fundamental truths about the learning process itself would be wise that would be wise to internalize. Value learning over money. It is a simple law of human psychology that your thoughts will tend to revolve around what you value the most. If it is money, you will choose a place for your apprenticeship that offers the biggest paycheck. Inevitably, in such a place, you will feel greater pressures to prove yourself worthy of such pay. Often before you are really ready, you will be focused on yourself, your insecurities, the need to please and impress the right people, and do not acquiring skills. It will be too costly for you to make these mistakes and learn from them. So you will develop a cautious, conservative approach. As you progress in life, you will become addicted to the fat paycheck, and it will determine where you go, how you think, and what you do. Eventually, the time that was not spent on learning skills will catch up with you, and the fall will be painful. Instead, you must value learning above everything else. This will lead you to all of these right choices. You will opt for the situation that will give you the most opportunities to learn. Particularly with hands on work, you will choose a place that has people and mentors who can inspire you and teach you. A job with mediocre pay has the added benefit of training you to get by with less a valuable life skill. If your apprenticeship is to be mostly on your own time, a self-apprenticeship, you will choose a place that pays the bills, perhaps one that keeps your mind sharp, but that also leaves you the time and mental space to do valuable work on your own. You must never disdain an apprenticeship with no pay. In fact, it is often the height of wisdom to find the perfect mentor and offer your services as an assistant for free, happy to exploit your cheap and eager spirit. Such mentors will often divulge more than the usual trade secrets in the end. By valuing learning above all else, you will set the stage for your creative expansion, and the money will soon come to you. Keep expanding your horizons. For most people, this is the reality of the apprenticeship phase. No one is really going to help you or give you direction in fashioning an apprenticeship. In fact, the odds are against you. If you desire an apprenticeship, if you want to learn and set yourself up for mastery, you have to do it by yourself and with great energy. When When you enter this phase, you generally begin at the lowest position. Your access to knowledge and people is limited by your status. If you are not careful, you will accept this status and become defined by it. Instead, you must struggle against any limitations and continually work to expand your horizons. Reading books and materials that go beyond what is required is always a good starting point. Being exposed to ideas in the wide world, you will tend to develop a hunger for more and more knowledge. You will find it harder to remain satisfied in any narrow corner, which is precisely the point. You submit to the reality of being weak and needing to learn what is required, but you place no limits on the subjects you will learn and the skills you will acquire. The people in your field, in your immediate circles, are like worlds unto themselves. Their stories and viewpoints will naturally expand your horizons and build up your social skills. Mingle with as many different types of people as possible. Those circles will slowly widen. Any kind of outside schooling will add to the dynamic. Be relentless in your pursuit for expansion. Whenever you feel like you are setting into some circle, force yourself to shake things up and look for new challenges. With your mind expanding, you will redefine the limits of your apparent world. Soon, ideas and opportunities will come to you, and your apprenticeship will naturally complete itself. Revert to a feeling of inferiority. What prevents people from learning is not the subject itself, no matter how difficult it is. The human mind has limitless capabilities, but rather than certain learning disabilities that tend to foster and grow in our minds as we get older. These include a sense of smugness and superiority whenever we encounter something alien to our ways, alien to our ways, as well as rigid ideas what is real or true, often indoctrinated in us by schooling or family. If we feel like we know something, our minds close off to other possibilities. We see reflections of the truth we have already assumed. Such feelings of superiority are often unconscious and stem from a fear of what is different or unknown. We are rarely aware of this and often imagine ourselves to be paragons of impartiality. Children are generally free of these handicaps. They are dependent upon adults for their survival and naturally feel inferior. This sense of inferiority gives them a hunger to learn. Through learning, they can bridge the gap and not feel so helpless. Their minds are completely open, they pay greater attention. This is why children can learn so quickly and so deeply, unlike other animals. We humans retain what is known as not any, not any mental and physical traits of immaturity. Well into our adult years, we have the remarkable capability of returning to a childlike spirit, specifically in moments in which we must learn something. Well into our 50s and beyond, we can return to that sense of wonder and curiosity, reviving our youth and apprenticeships. Understand, when you enter a new environment, your task is to learn and absorb as much as possible. For that purpose, you must try to revert to a childlike feeling of inferiority, the feeling that others know much more than you and that you are dependent upon them to learn and safely navigate your apprenticeship. You drop all of your preconceptions about an environment or field, any lingering feelings of smugness. You have no fears. You interact with people and participate in the culture as deeply as possible. You're full of curiosity, assuming the sensation of inferiority. Your mind will open up and you will have a hunger to learn. Okay, what? You have no fears, you interact with people and participate in the culture as deeply as possible. Hmm. You are reverting to a feeling of independence so that within 5 to 10 years you can learn enough to finally declare your independence and enter full adulthood. You are full of curiosity, assuming this sensation of inferiority. Assuming the sensation of inferiority, your mind will open up and you will have a hunger to learn. This position is, of course, only temporary. You are reverting to a feeling and dependence so that within 5 to 10 years you can learn enough to finally declare your independence and enter full adulthood. Trust the process. Number 4. What separates masters from others is often something surprisingly simple. Whenever we learn a skill, we frequently reach a point of frustration. What we are learning seems beyond our capabilities. Giving in to these feelings, we unconsciously quit on ourselves before we even actually give up. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not simply a matter of determination but of more of trust and faith. Many of those who succeed in life they have had the experience in their youth of having mastered some skills, a sport, a game, a musical instrument, a foreign language, and so on. Buried in their minds is the sensation of overcoming their frustrations and entering the cycle of accelerated returns. In moments of doubt in the present, the memory of the past experience rises to the surface. Filled with trust in the process, they trudge on well past the point at which others slow down or mentally quit. When it comes to mastering a skill, time is the magic ingredient. Assuming your practice proceeds at a steady level over days and weeks, certain elements of the skill become hardwired. Slowly, the entire skill becomes internalized, part of your nervous system. The mind is no longer mired in the details but can see the larger picture. It is a miraculous sensation, and practice will lead you to that point, no matter the talent level you are born with. The only real impediment to this is yourself and your emotions, boredom, panic, frustration, and insecurity. You cannot suppress such emotions. They are normal to the process and are experienced by everyone, including masters. When you can do this, faith in the process. What you can do is have faith in the process. The boredom will go away once you enter the cycle. The panic disappears after repeated exposures. The frustration is a sign of progress, a signal that your mind is processing complexity and requires more practice. The insecurities will transform into their opportunities when you gain mastery. Trusting this will all happen, you will allow the natural learning process to move forward and everything else will fall into place. Move toward resistance and pain. By nature, we humans shrink from anything that seems possibly painful or overtly difficult. We bring this natural tendency to our practice of any skill. Once we grow adept at some aspect of the skill, generally one that comes more easily to us, we prefer to practice this element over and over. Our skill becomes lopsided as we avoid our weaknesses, knowing that in our practice we can let down our guard since we are not being watched or under pressure to perform. We bring to this a kind of dispersed attention. We tend to also be quite conventional in our practice routines. We generally follow what others have done, performing the accepted exercises for these skills. This is the path of amateurs. To attain mastery, you must adopt what we shall call resistance practice. The principle is simple. You go in the opposite direction of all of your natural tendencies when it comes to practice. First, you resist the temptation to be nice to yourself. You become your own worst critic. You see your work as if through the eyes of others. You recognize your weaknesses, precisely the elements you are not good at. Those are the aspects you give precedence to in your practice. You find a kind of perverse pleasure in moving past the pain this might bring. Second, you resist the lure of easing up on your focus. You train yourself to concentrate in practice with double the intensity as if it were the real thing times two. In devising your own routines, you become as creative as possible. You invent exercises that work upon your weaknesses. You invent exercises, okay, that work upon your weaknesses. You give yourself arbitrary deadlines to meet certain standards, constantly pushing yourself past perceived limits. In this way, you develop your own standards for excellence, generally higher than those of others. In the end, your 5 hours of intense focused work are the equivalent of 10 for most of people. Soon enough, you will see the results of such practice, and others will marvel at the apparent ease in which you accomplish your deeds. Apprenticeship yourself in failure. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, there is really only one effective form of apprenticeship: failure. It is life, it is like working on a machine. When a device malfunctions, you do not take it personally or grow despondent. It is in fact a blessing in disguise. Such malfunctions generally show you inherent flaws and means of improvement. You simply keep tinkering until you get it right. The same should apply to your first entrepreneurial ventures. Mistakes and failures are precisely your means of education. They tell you about your own inadequacies. It is hard to find out such things from people, as they are often political with their praise and criticisms. Your failures also permit you to see the flaws of your ideas are only revealed in the execution of them. You learn what your audience or clients really want. This discrepancy between your ideas and how they affect the public. Think of it this way: there are two kinds of failure. The first comes from never trying out your ideas because you are afraid or because you are waiting for the perfect time. This kind of failure you can never learn from, and such timidity will destroy you. The second The second kind of comes from a bold and venturesome spirit. If you fail in this way, the hit that you take to your reputation is greatly outweighed by what you learn. Repeated failure will toughen your spirit and show you with absolute clarity how things must be done. In fact, it is a curse to have everything go right on your first attempt. You will fail to question the element of luck, making you think that you have the golden touch. When you do inevitably fail, it will confuse and demoralize you past the point of learning. In any case, to apprentice as an entrepreneur, you must act on your ideas as early as possible, exposing them to the public, a part of you even hoping that you will fail. You have everything to gain. To apprentice to apprenticeship as an entrepreneur, you must act on your ideas as early as possible, exposing them to the public, a part of you even hoping that you will fail. You have everything to gain. Number 7. Combine the how and the what. We humans live in two worlds. First, there is the outer world of appearances, all of the forms of things that captivate our eye, but hidden from our view is another world. How these things actually function, their anatomy or composition. This is second. The parts working together and forming the whole. This second world is not so immediately captivating. It is harder to understand. It is not something visible to the eye but only to the mind that glimpses the reality. But this how of thing is just as poetic once we understand it. It contains the secret of life, of how things move and change. This division between the how and the what can be applied to almost everything around us. We see the machine, not how it works. We see a group of people producing something as a business, not how the group is structured or how the products are manufactured and distributed. In a similar fashion, we tend to be mesmerized by people's appearances, not by the psychology behind what they do or say. In a similar fashion, we tend to be mesmerized by people's appearances, not the psychology behind what they do or say. In overcoming this division, in combining the how and the what of the field we work in, we gain a much deeper, or rather more round knowledge of it. We grasp a larger portion of the reality that goes into making whatever it is we produce. Understand, we live in the world of sad separation that began some 500 years ago. Scientists and technicians, uh, when art and science splits apart, scientists and technicians live in their own world, focusing mostly on the how of things. Others live in the world of appearances, using these things but not really understanding how they function. Just before this split occurred, it was the ideal of the Renaissance to combine these two forms of knowledge. This is why the work of Leonardo da Vinci continues to fascinate us, why the Renaissance remains an ideal. Renaissance remains an ideal. This more rounded knowledge is in fact the way of the future, especially now that so much more information is available to all of us. This should be a part of our apprenticeship. We must make ourselves study as deeply as possible the technology we use, the functioning of the group we work in, the economics way of our field. It is lifeblood. We must constantly ask the questions: how do things work, how do decisions get made, and how does the group interact? Rounding our knowledge in this way will give us a deeper feel of reality and the heightened power to alter it. Advance through trial and error. Each age tends to create a model of apprenticeship that is suited to the system of production that prevails at the time. In the Middle Ages, during the birth of modern capitalism and the need for quality controls, the first apprenticeship system appeared with its rigidity defined terms. With the advent of the Industrial Revolution, this model of apprenticeship became largely outmoded, but the idea behind it lived on in the form of self-apprenticeship. Developing yourself from within a particular field, as Darwin did in biology, this suited the growing individualistic spirit of the time. We are now in the information age, with computers dominating nearly all aspects of commercial life. Although there are many ways in which this could influence the concept of peer apprenticeship, it is the hacker approach to programming that may offer the promising model for this new age. Hacker approach. The model goes like this: you want to learn as many skills as possible, following the direction that circumstances lead you to, but only if they are related to your deepest interest. Like a hacker, you value the process of self-discovery and making things that are of the highest quality. You avoid the trap of following one set career path. You are not sure where this will all lead, but you are taking all full advantage of the openness of information. All of the knowledge about skills our disposal. Now at our disposal. You see what kind of work suits you and what you want to avoid at all cost. You move by trial and error. This is how you pass your 20s. You are the programmer of this wide-ranging apprenticeship within the loose constraints of your personal interest. You are not wandering about because you are afraid of commitment, but because you are expanding your skill base and your possibilities. At a certain point, when you are ready to settle on something, ideas and opportunities will inevitably present themselves to you. When that happens, all of the skills you have accumulated will prove invaluable. You will be the master at combining them in ways that are unique and suited to your individuality. You may settle on this one place or idea for several years, accumulating in the process even more skills, then move in a slightly different direction when the time is appropriate. In this new age, those who follow a rigid, singular path in their youth often find themselves in a career dead end in their 40s or overwhelmed with boredom. The wide ranging apprenticeship of your 20s will yield the opposite, expanding possibilities as you get older. Okay, so that's it from my side today. We have completed chapter 2, and trust me, guys, you should read Robert Greene's Mastery book, which is, I think, as far as I have got an idea, it is based on self-discovery, nothing about manipulation, just about your self-mastery and obsession. And these are one of the best things that I have learned today. And yeah, as an intern, I can totally relate with all of these stuffs, and I'm really happy that I'm reading this book. So one advice I would like to give you, no matter who you are, just keep reading books, okay? You never know what advice or what quote you will remember at what moment of your life, and it will completely change you or direct you in a direction that you will never find out that yes, this worked. So I will suggest you to work on it and start reading. So yeah, that's it from my side. Tomorrow I will be reading from chapter 3 and I will share my perspective, and I think chapter 3 is far more longer. Yes, 96 from 72, from 75 to 95, you can say, at least 20 pages. So yeah, that's it from my side. Bye.